Hi, friends. So this is a lesson, essay and rubric. Okay? Shouldn't be too long, but I really want to go over things with you. Okay? Um, you're going to be assessed in these categories, right? Knowledge, thesis, organization, evidence, presentation, and acknowledgement and bibliography. Okay? Sorry, some of these things are not justified perfectly. I just wanted to fit it all on the slide. You have this copy printed out, or you have this online in a couple of different places on week 3 for sure. I will also add it on week 4, the final essay assignment. Okay. All right. So knowledge. You want to have gained new knowledge about the topic. You want to say something that I haven't covered directly in a lesson or something that we've spoken about already. That means you have to do some research, okay? It means you have to make a connection that we may have implied, but that you go further, you provide evidence, but we'll talk about that, but that you're demonstrating new knowledge. You make larger connections. This can connect to the context that the work was made, given what the United States was at the time and the international community. What did that look like, and how does the work, or did the work, relate to it, right? That's a larger connection. And then also you can connect to today and the sort of lingering aspects of pop, for example. Make reference to art historical criticism and place, it should be place their arguments within that context. And so you might say, Oldenburg kept some of the sort of physical making that Rauschenberg did, right? Some art historian might write about Oldenburg, right? But then the contextualization of the work in the pastry case, for example, really helps solidify pop as making these commodities like what Warhol did, for example. I don't know the art historian who might have said that, but you might find an article, right, in JSTOR that talks about that. And you might quote that writer and that piece, and that's important, right? So you look at some of the arguments that have gone before. You can even use arguments that are the ones you're making, right? And you put it out there and your own voice in relationship to it, okay? And make larger connections across time and locations. This is a great opportunity, especially to talk about the different context and yet similar marketing that was taking place in, different contexts and different views, right, on what makes art high or low or good or bad that was happening in the UK, right, where pop really begins, and in America. All right, so this is a great opportunity for you. Your thesis should represent that you really understand what is important about pop, right? You shouldn't be talking about something that is superfluous, okay? You present a thought-provoking thesis, and something that makes you wonder, or if someone reads it, it's like, I've wondered that, and I still have questions. You actually want people to leave with questions, right? And discuss other views when appropriate. So, for example, James Rosenquist isn't solely political, right? Nor is Robert Indiana. And you may be talking about how their work is particularly political. Maybe you did. But you could also look at other perspectives, is that even if they subsumed kind of their way they were working within a formal arrangement and structure that was common to pop artists. And, so that even if you're making an argument, you acknowledge counter arguments, right? And you address them. And then you go further to say why yours is actually more compelling, okay? In order to do that, you need to be organized well, make great transitions from one to another, use helpful paragraphing, right? You should have good introductions and conclusions. And the conclusion, I encourage you to think about larger questions that you could leave the reader with, okay? Evidence, you want to make sure the evidence that you're providing, you could use the formal deconstruction, the way we've been starting to talk about it in class and in your writing assignments, right? That prove your point when you examine a painting or a sculpture. Go in great depth, and you want to use the evidence that you find from your research as well as your own evidentiary reasoning when you analyze these works, okay? And like you do with your thesis, other views, is you want some evidence is just better. And you could say, it is possible this might not be considered because this other thing would be considered, but I really believe that this is where it's coming from, and this is why, right? So what you're doing is you're recognizing that some evidence is stronger than others, right? You want to, on your presentation here, use your voice. I want to have fun reading it, right? I want to get a sense of who you are as a writer. You're aware that this is a scholarly piece. You're not writing this, for People magazine. You're writing it for someone who's really interested to learn more about pop. So use proper language, get away from colloquialisms. You're not going to use abbreviations in a way that, is slang, okay? And at the very bottom there, images are embedded into the body of the paper in correct locations and they're labeled properly. So when you're talking about a work of art, right, the first time you talk about it, let's see that image right there, and you label it, who the artist is, the year, the title of the piece, and you refer to it, right? If you refer back to that painting, you could just say, let's say it's Rosenquist's F111, right? So originally, the first time you mention it, you would see that image there, and then subsequently, you could just say in Rosenquist's F111. You don't have to show the image again, all right? Acknowledgement is, if you do this on your own and you haven't received anything back from me, and you've talked to nobody at school, you've talked to no teachers, no friends, no anybody, then you just say acknowledgement, none, okay? But if I've given you support, you say acknowledgement, Jesse Pasca. If you worked with anybody at school or a peer tutor or peer, right? You could acknowledgement, my dad for editing, or my friend Bob for talking out the thesis with me, or the librarian at my school, person for helping me research, right? And that's just a way of making your process visible in this whole thing, okay? You certainly can do more than 2 JSTOR articles, but I want you to find at least 2, right? Find at least 2 good scholarly articles that can serve your thesis in one form or another. It doesn't have to be a massive input, but it should be able to support your thesis and your argument. And that you put your bibliography, whatever it is that you used, you have that included at the end, right? So you have your acknowledgement, your bibliography, and I should also add, and I'll make it come up in color right here on this video, is quality of failure. I strongly suggest you do your quality of failure reflection right in your paper as well, and then just copy that into week 4's quality of failure, okay? So this way it's already done for you. All right, down below, username. If you don't have it through your institution, you can use mine. Use username friends. Password is 2fs4jstor. Okay? And it's jstor.org. All right. Any questions? Email me or post in the comment section below. Thank you, friends.